Good evening, everyone. Today I will be discussing about how to calculate the glucose infusion rate in a newborn. So in this video I will be discussing about the steps of calculating the glucose infusion drip, and there are 5 steps which we commonly use, or rather I will be talking about these 5 steps one by one. So the first step would be that you calculate the total fluid required for that baby on that particular day. So we all know that as per the day of life the fluid requirement changes in the baby. So first step will be that you calculate based on the day of life and based on the weight of the child, you calculate the total fluid that the child or the baby needs on that day. So that is the first step. Second step is you determine the grams of glucose that the child needs to receive in the next 24 hours. So whatever GIR, maybe a GIR of 8 or 6 mg per kg per minute or 10 mg per kg per minute. So whatever is the GIR you want to start with or you want to give to the child, based on that you calculate the grams of glucose that the child requires in the next 24 hours. Third step is that you calculate the percentage of dextrose you want to give to that child based on the grams of glucose to be given and the fluid which the child needs. And then you come to the fourth step, that once you have decided the grams which you want to give, you decide or you find out how to prepare that fluid. I mean, say suppose if you want to give 16 grams in 80 ml of fluid, so how do you prepare a fluid such that your 80 ml of fluid gives 16 grams of dextrose? So we'll see all those with the help of an example in the next few minutes. And lastly is we'll learn something about how to cross check. So once you have formulated the plan for glucose infusion, there are some tables available which will help us to cross check whether whatever we have prescribed is correct or not. So I'll show these steps one by one with the help of an example in the next few minutes. So you have a child 1.9 kg and on day 3 of life the child has hypoglycemia, RBS value suppose 20-25 JB. Now you decide to start fluids. Day 3 of life पर तुम्हारा usual TFR कितना रहता है? ठीक है, 90 ml per kg. So 90 ml per kg, which means कितना था जैसे आमा 90 into 1.9, how much it will be? 171. Okay, suppose this is the total TFR. For the next 24 hours, the child should receive total of 171 ml. The antibiotics bhi aise. Suppose the child is getting some inotropes, some antibiotics or something. So hypothetically, I am just deducting say 20-25 ml. Maybe 20 ml I will deduct. Okay, 21 ml antibiotics so totally you are left with 150 ml. So now our target is that we have to give a GIR such that the child gets total fluid of 150. You should not exceed the total TFR because it will cause overfluid. Now, since there is hypoglycemia, what is the rule? You start with a GIR of 6. Where do you get the value of 6 from? Why not at 4? Why not at 2?
4 is physiologically
because your and my body physiological glucose consumption is 4 mg per kg per minute. So that is why you start at a little bit higher. So it is 6 mg per kg per minute. So if I take, if I start with a GIR of 6 for this child, so I have to prepare a fluid such that when this fluid is going on continuously, glucose infusion rate, glucose infusion rate, so it has to go continuously and it should give 6 mg per kg per minute. So if you go by that formula, that formula is a bit complicated, whichever formula we are seeing in that. It is complicated. So I usually go by simple logic that you have to prepare a fluid such that you are giving 6 mg per kg per minute. So it is 6 into
kg 1.9,
that is the weight of the child, and
24 into 60
per minute. So one day there are 24 hours and each hour has 60 minutes. So roughly if you calculate
16.41 hours.
So it will be 6 into 1.9 into 1440. Because this 24 and 60 will become 1440. Okay, and that is mg, if you take your glucose in mg, है ना, तो 1641
16416 पाचड़ 6 बाकी ऐड करता हूँ.
ठीक है. So this much is my milligram, है ना. I have to prepare a fluid. अगर if I want to give a GIR of 6, I have to prepare a fluid such that I give him in one day. I have to give this much
mg glucose.
mg. Dextrose requirement in one full day, that is in 24 hours, it is 16,416 milligrams of glucose. You convert it to grams because આપણા જેટલા બી fluids છે they are all dextrose percentage માં. એટલે 10% dextrose means 10 grams per 100 ml, 25% dextrose means 25 grams per 100 ml. So because આપણા fluid જે છે grams માં છે, so here also I would want to convert it in grams. So whatever is your value, you divide it by 1000, so that will be 16.4 grams. Okay, so I have to give next 24 hours ma I have to give 16.4 grams of dextrose. Okay, now I have to dissolve this. I mean, my fluid should be such that 150 ml gives 16.4 grams. Okay, so how to decide which fluid to take? Now you know how much grams you have to give, you know how much ml you have to give. So how to decide what fluid to take? You can take 10% dextrose, 5% dextrose, 25% dextrose. So how do I decide which fluid to take? No. Once you decide what percentage of dextrose you want to give, suppose I want to give only 7% dextrose fluid ma, so why do you not to give a central line? But you can give it through peripheral line also. So this much grams I have to give in 150 ml. So I made two calculations till now. One is I calculated the TFR. Second is if I want to give a GIR of 6, how many grams of glucose I have to give. So first step is you calculate the TFR based on the day of life. Second step is you calculate the GIR you want to give. So that will give you the total grams of glucose you should give. Third step is you divide 2 by 1. Okay, so in the third step what do you do? So this 16.4 grams you divide by 150. Okay.
10.9.
Okay, 0.109. So this much is 0.109 into 100. So this will become 20.9. Okay, so this is the concentration of dextrose in the fluid I will be giving. Okay, જે કન્ફ્યુઝન તમને થાય છે કે 10% ડેક્સ્ટ્રોઝ ચાલુ કરવું કે 25 ડેક્સ્ટ્રોઝ ચાલુ કરવું કે બંનેનું મિક્સ કરીને ચાલુ કરવું. So now since this is 10.9% dextrose, matlab it is nearer to the fluid which is available to you. You have 10% dextrose now. So it is okay if you give a little bit of 10% dextrose extra, that is fine. So now this much is so this much is your 10.9% should be the concentration of the fluid which you want to give. I have commercially available 10% dextrose. Okay, or second commercially available fluid is 25% dextrose. Okay, so now next step 4 is how to prepare a fluid using these two commercial fluids so that I get a fluid that gives me 10.9% dextrose in 150 ml. So step 1 is you calculate the TFR. ठीक છે, તમારે next 24 hours માં બેબીને કેટલું fluid આપવાનું છે. Step 2 is you calculate the grams, how much grams you want to give. Step 3 is you divide this value in step 2 by step 1. ठीक है, so that will give you the percentage of dextrose you should be giving in your fluid. So now if this value was more than 12.5, ठीक है, then you cannot use a peripheral line. Okay, જે flowchart માં લખ્યું છે more than 12.5% dextrose should not be given through peripheral line. So if this value was more than 12.5, I cannot give it through a peripheral line. But since it is 10.9, you can give this fluid through a peripheral line. Okay. Now how do you decide કે 10% અને 25% કેવી રીતના મિક્સ કરવું છે so that you get a fluid of 10.9. ठीक है, so that is the next step. You can also go for a mixing of 5% and 25%. That is your choice. ठीक है, but because these two are the nearer fluids, we prefer to use this one. ठीक, so how do you decide? ml of 25% dextrose. So I want to mix two fluids, 10% and 25% I have to mix so that my ultimate concentration is 10.9. So how much 25% dextrose I have to mix, that will be decided by the difference between this value and this. So how much it is?
6.
ठीक है, divide by 15 into how much volume you have? 150. Okay, I will explain it the other way also. So this much, how much it is coming?
9 ml.
ठीक है, so this gives me 9 ml. 9 ml मतलब क्या कि 25% डेक्सट्रोज 9 ml होना चाहिए. तो 150 ml जो आपका फ्लूइड है टोटल, उसमें से आपको 9 ml 25% डेक्सट्रोज डालना है. बाकी का कितना रह गया? 141 ml. ठीक है, so 141 ml will be 10% dextrose and 9 ml will be 25% dextrose. Okay. So when you combine these two, total fluid जो आपका आ रहा है दिन में वो कितना आ रहा है? 150. जो हमारा टारगेट था शुरुआत में, हमको 150 ml देना है. That 150 ml has got a combination of two fluids such that उसका फाइनल कॉन्सेंट्रेशन जो है वो है 10.9%. ठीक है. If you want to cross check it the other way, कि आप कितना डेक्सट्रोज दे रहे हो बराबर है कि नहीं. ठीक है, तो इसमें कितना है? 141 ml 10% डेक्सट्रोज मतलब कितना? 14.1 grams. ठीक है, because it is 10% dextrose, so 14.1 grams. And 9 ml of 25% dextrose. 25% dextrose means 100 ml में 25 grams. मतलब for every 4 ml there is 1 gram. So because it is 9 ml तो कितना हुआ? 2.2. ठीक है, तो 2.2 grams. So 14 plus 2.2 16.3. So 16.3. So that is ठीक है. Understood? Is equal to IV rate, that is in ml per kg per day, into percentage of dextrose divided by 144. Okay, so this is one of the formula जो इस प्रोटोकॉल में दिया हुआ है. ठीक. So going back to our case, that was 1.9 kg baby. Total TFR we assumed was
150.
हाँ, मतलब 171 ml was the total TFR. उसमें से एंटीबायोटिक्स वगैरह सब निकाल के you kept a rate of 150 ml. ठीक है, we have to convert it to ml per kg per day. So you divide by 150 by 1.9 तो कितना आ रहा है? So 79 ml per kg per day because you have minus मतलब यहाँ पे आपने एंटीबायोटिक्स माइनस कर दिए. ठीक है, सो फॉर कैलकुलेटिंग GIR यू माइनस एंटीबायोटिक्स. ठीक, नाउ वी हैड दैट फॉर्मूला ऑफ 10.9%, है ना. हमने उसके हिसाब से जो कैलकुलेट किया था परसेंटेज ऑफ डेक्सट्रोज कितना आ रहा था? 10.9% जो हमको देना था. ठीक है, सो अगर वही सारी चीजें इसमें हम डालते हैं, सो यहाँ पे इन्फ्यूजन रेट अपना कितना है? 6. ये हमको पहले से पता है. ठीक, रेट अपने को यहां से अपन ने गिना, दैट इज 79. परसेंटेज ऑफ डेक्सट्रोज सपोज हमको फाइंड आउट करना है, बाकी नीचे का है 144. तो अब इसको मल्टीप्लाई कर दो 144 into 6 by 79. ठीक है, तो ये कितना आया? 10.9. हमने उधर जो फ्लूइड बनाया था वो भी वही था 10.9. ठीक है, तो रफली इट विल गिव द सेम वैल्यू. हो सकता है 0.1 0.2 आगे पीछे हो. सो ये वाला फॉर्मूला अगर आपको फॉलो करना है, हमारे जो मैंने पहले फॉर्मूला सिखाया था उसमें आपको क्या क्या बदलना है. तो आईवी रेट जो है वो आपका TFR के हिसाब से होगा, बट उसमें आपको एंटीबायोटिक्स माइनस करने हैं. यहाँ जो भी एक्स्ट्रा फीडिंग या कुछ भी बच्चे को जा रहा है तो योर रेट विल बी दैट. GIR आपको जो भी 6 mg या 8 mg पर kg से देना है, और 144 इधर आपको परसेंटेज ऑफ डेक्सट्रोज जो है वो इससे मिल जाएगा. ठीक है, सो दिस इज वन ऑफ द फॉर्मूला जो इम्स प्रोटोकॉल में दिया हुआ है. ठीक, सेकेंड फॉर्मूला जो है सेकेंड फॉर्मूला जो है दैट इज अगेन इन्फ्यूजन रेट इन mg per kg per minute. ठीक है, इज इक्वल टू फ्लूइड रेट इन ml per kg per day. ml per kg per day into 0.007 into percentage of dextrose.
सर ये सेम ही है, 1 को डिवाइड कर दिया 140.
तो इट इज द सेम. ठीक है. So again in this formula also if you go by that logic which we went previously, यहाँ पे इन्फ्यूजन रेट कितना है 6 है ना, क्योंकि हमको GIR 6 से चालू करना है. फ्लूइड रेट अपन ने गिना था 79 क्योंकि हमने एंटीबायोटिक्स वगैरह सब माइनस कर दिए थे, इंटू 0.007 इंटू परसेंटेज ऑफ डेक्सट्रोज आपको फाइंड आउट करना है. इसको आप मल्टीप्लाई करके नीचे लेके जाओ. परसेंटेज ऑफ डेक्सट्रोज विल बी 10.85, दैट इज क्लोज टू 10.9. ठीक है. तो रफली आप कोई भी फॉर्मूला लगाओ आपको एक कंक्लूजन मिल रहा है. ठीक है. इसमें आपको क्या ये फॉर्मूला आप यूज कर सकते हो, एवरी वन विल रीच टू द सेम वैल्यू. लास्ट में आपको परसेंटेज ऑफ डेक्सट्रोज डिसाइड करना है कि आपको कितना परसेंटेज ऑफ डेक्सट्रोज देना है. ठीक है. सो दैट हैज कम टू 10.8 या 10.9 फॉर दिस एग्जांपल. नेक्स्ट पार्ट ऑफ द, यहाँ पे प्रॉब्लम खत्म नहीं होती है ना. अब नेक्स्ट पार्ट ऑफ द प्रॉब्लम क्या है कि अपनी 10.9% फ्लूइड लाना कैसे है. और सपोज इफ यू गो टू दिस सेम बेबी, नाउ यू वांट टू इंक्रीज टू GIR 8. ठीक है. तो अगर यहाँ पे आपने GIR 8 कर दिया और ये 79 वही रहेगा बिकॉज डे ऑफ लाइफ चेंज नहीं हुआ है. ठीक है. एंड दिस 0.007 अभी कितना आ रहा है वैल्यू 14.46. ठीक है. तो आप कोई भी फॉर्मूला लगाओ, अल्टीमेटली लोग आके अटकते इधर ही है कि अब ये परसेंटेज ऑफ डेक्सट्रोज तो मिल गया, अब 14.46 फ्लूइड बनाना कैसे है. ठीक है. तो वो वन थिंग इज क्लियर कि अब आपको 14.4% ऐसा फ्लूइड बनाना है जिसमें डेक्सट्रोज का कॉन्सेंट्रेशन हो 14.4. ठीक है. और आपके पास टोटल दिन में फ्लूइड कितना है 79 ml पर kg, मतलब 79 इंटू 1.9 कितना था 150 ml. ठीक है. तो आपको फ्लूइड ऐसा बनाना है जिसमें 14.46% डेक्सट्रोज हो 150 ml. ठीक है. तो बात आके वहीं अटकती है कि अब इसके आगे कैसे बढ़ना है. ठीक. तो उसके लिए तो जो आगे हमने डिस्कस किया था वही एक तरीका है. ठीक है. सो दैट इज व्हाई यूजुअली प्रेफर द फर्स्ट मेथड ओनली. देयर आर 2 फोटोज. Used roughly, maybe it is not 100% correct for all cases, but in this table, so based on the ml per kg per day you want to give. So in your last example हमने क्या देखा था, लगभग 79 ml per kg हो रहा था सब एंटीबायोटिक्स वगैरह माइनस करके. So 80 ml per kg है ना. एंड हाउ मच परसेंटेज ऑफ डेक्सट्रोज, आपने वो फॉर्मूला सब लगाया, उसमें कितना आ रहा था डेक्सट्रोज 10.9, मतलब समवेयर अराउंड 11. ठीक है. तो 11 और 80 कहाँ पे मिक्स हो रहा है
5.6.
So this one is 6.1. ठीक है. तो this one 6.1 जो है that will be your GIR. ठीक है. वो कितना mg per kg per minute से GIR जा रहा है. If you give 11% जो अपन, मतलब this is one of the ways to cross check कि आप जो GIR दे रहे हो वो करेक्ट है कि नहीं. This is not helpful to calculate GIR. It is just to cross check. एट द एंड ऑफ द डे आपने सारे कैलकुलेशंस कर लिए, फिर हमको डाउट होता है ना कि मैंने गलत किया है सही किया है. तो वो क्रॉस चेक कैसे करेंगे कि मैं दे रहा हूं 11% फ्लूइड एट 80 ml पर kg से. ठीक है. तो 80 और 11 कहां पे मिक्स हो रहा है 6.1. सो दैट इज द GIR यू आर एक्चुअली गिविंग अगर आप 11% फ्लूइड दे रहे हो 80 ml पर kg से. ठीक है. तो दैट इज हाउ रफली यू आर गिविंग. सेम इफ यू आर गिविंग से मतलब any value you take, suppose you are giving dextrose percent which is 14.4 or 14.5, so roughly in between, and your fluid rate is say 80. ठीक है. 80 at 14 अगर आप दे रहे हो तो 7.8. तो हमने लास्ट एग्जांपल में देखा था 14.4 आ रहा था. ठीक है. सो सेम अगर आप 15 से दोगे तो 8.3 और अगर आप 14 से दे रहे हो तो 7.8. सो रफली आप उसके बीच में डिलीवर कर रहे हो. ठीक है. सो दिस टेबल यू कैन यूज रफली टू क्रॉस चेक. एक बार आपने GIR कैलकुलेट कर लिया, फिर आपका जितना परसेंटेज ऑफ फ्लूइड आ रहा है और जितना ml पर kg पर डे है उसको कोरिलेट कर सकते हैं कि कितना GIR एक्चुअली बच्चे को जा रहा है. सो इफ दैट इज द वैल्यू यू वांट टू गिव तो यू आर करेक्ट. ठीक है. सो दिस इज वन ऑफ द वेज. एंड सेकंड टेबल જે ટેબલ છે this is also one of the ways to cross check કે તમે જે GIR આપો છો એ કરેક્ટ છે કે નહીં. ઠીક છે. સો આ ટેબલમાં કેવી રીતના ખબર પડશે. સો આપણું જે એક્ઝામ્પલ આપણે જોયું એમાં કેટલું હતું somewhere 80 ml per kg થી આપણે આપતા હતા 79 ml per kg થી fluid. So it is coming here. This is 50, 60, 70 and 80. સો હિયર હે ને, અને આપણું percentage of dextrose કેટલું આવતું હતું 10.9 એટલે 11. તો તમારે શું કરવાનું છે, you have to draw a line connecting these two dots. So અહીંયાથી if I make a line which is connecting 11, okay, and you just see where it is crossing. So if you have something like this which is connecting your 80 ml per kg to 11, where it is cutting this line, so it will be roughly cutting around 6.